How'd you go, mate?
I'm very disappointed in that one. In reflection to the last one, I found myself, if I did something like prepping my mag incorrectly, I recognised it and I fixed it.
Yeah.
However, with each of those things, including setting up a T-piece, of which I played with before,
Yeah.
it took time to correct that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I reflect positively in that I recognised it and fixed it rather than doing it.
Yep.
I'm very, very disappointed in myself in that I very quickly recognised, well, first up, I walked in, I started systematically nicely, then I recognised the severity of it and labelled it as live threat, and then I think to a point the wheels fell off the cart, using the metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
And that's recognising that when I did this, you know, my history taking would be lucky to be a dependent. I recognised the severity of it, but it was, I marked it that way in the sense that I never got anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got the fact that the ACP crew rocked up, shortness of breath, 3 nebules of salbutamol and a nebule of ibuprofen bromide,
Yeah.
and then I walked in the door. I've got nothing else within that survey.
Do you think it was asthma?
That was I labelled it as life threat, yes.
Do you think it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But it is important to have a look at the building blocks along the way to go, these are my confirmers, I'm quite sure that this is what I've got.
So, you know, I reflected really, really poorly on that. And then where I really recognised when I was watching the video, the wheels fell off with my systematic and even my labelling of it. I recognised that her tidal volume and rate was inadequate.
Yep.
I need to go to IPPV with a T-piece. Right. I didn't have a second oxygen source, but I had the bag, so you know we can still work with that. You know, it would be nice to have the second oxygen source, but we could still work with that. I labelled it, I started that treatment, but then for some reason, I labelled I wanted 10 to 15 rests per minute, 1 in 3. And then it took, you know, I heard of it took at least 2 if not 3 prompts from yourself. You got a hypoinflated thorax. The first time I heard it, I even double checked, I hear that correctly? Yeah, I heard that correctly. But then for some reason I went, that's to be expected. I didn't look at it and go, I'm actually potentially exacerbating that. So I didn't look very proud on that. When I looked at the timeline of things, you know, my mag didn't go on to near 13 minutes, 12:55 or whatever it was. Probably not cool. I think I got my first dose of adrenaline nice and early. I got, you know, Tristan was getting an IV, right, stop, I need you to do this.
Yep.
And then Nat was, I prior her to get a bag of fluids for the line.
Yeah.
I recognised the rest break, stop, I need you to change and go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the early phases that sort of stuff was good, but then my subsequent doses weren't fantastic. You know, I didn't get my third dose of adrenaline until I repositioned them.
Yeah.
Once they'd gone downhill, so I didn't like that. I also felt, maybe you guys saw it differently, I felt that my directions and my tasking wasn't as calm and polite as what I would normally be. I felt they were much more do this, do that. There was a lot more of you in Brisbane, you got to stop the knife teaching. I was doing finger painting. And when I watched that, you know, the severity of the case warranted to a point, but I didn't like what I saw.
Did you have a chat to your crew afterwards? Like,
To Tristan.
how did they felt about the direction?
They went and stocked that stuff back up, and then I think Nat went and had a cigarette, and I was watching the tape, and Tristan's like, I'm going to get out what you did with you.
Like, I think it's often a good thing to do, is just to ask, it's about 360 feedback. I mean, guys, how did you feel I went on that? How did you feel the instructions? And most of the time people let you know, yeah mate, you're good, but you know, at times you're a little bit, you know, on the rough side. I thought your tasking was appropriate due to the sense of urgency within that scene. So it's something you were busy, and we all sat back and we went, it's a busy case, Ben's busy, but I'd say you're busy in the right areas.
And that was the next thing I was going to say, even when I was watching the tape. I think I was reasonably aware of some things that were going on, but sometimes there were things that might have been said that sort of sailed one ear and out the other because I was doing this in my kit bag, preparing things out of my kit bag, be it magnesium infusion, which I subsequently stuffed up the first time. Recognised it, no, I've got more, get another one and do another one, fine. But I I could see that was chewing up a lot of that metaphorical bandwidth to be aware of the other things, or to take in the interpretation of some of the information you provided, like the hyperinflated thorax, and not just, yeah, right, I realise that, I'm going to treat that with this.
So you over diluted your magnesium in the first time.
Yeah.
And the question mark I had is, would there be any harm in putting that onto your patient while you're prepping up your mag, or making a recognition of, I've diluted this with 5 ml more saline, however, I'm going to establish this while we continue on cares for our patient?
Oh look, it may have potentially been a benefit.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be a detriment. It's not like I'm overdosing a person on it.
Yeah.
It's just you got an extra 5 minutes of syringe driver or spring fuser before you're reaching your therapeutic or your goal point of 10 millimoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, when you say it like that, maybe I should have just used it, but then I also tried to do that polish thing. No, I want this to be what it's supposed to be, and that's when I went,
well,
get rid of it.
We said, and I wondered what you were doing with the second drawer, but then I looked at it and I went, no, he's got 25 ml within that volume, and I think he's recognised it. I thought you were pretty quick with your draw up in the second circumstance. Your recapping of a sharp into its needle, back in your hand, and then discarding. They're things that you need to just review in the heat of battle. Practice.
How do we do it though when the sharp pins? You can't just unscrew the sharp off the end.
Put it on the ground, shove it along the ground, like you're busy, mate, you're going to go through your hand. Like...
That's a habit, that's a bad habit. I know it's a bad habit, I've reflected on it many a time. But I'm yet to find a way when I screw a 18 gauge drawing up onto a sharp onto a...
Hey, just put it on the ground, just do that. Just pick it up and then it's on.
Yeah, and then I take it in and then I can just cap it on there, but I can see that when you're saying it like that, yeah.
And then, you know, they're things that, like, if it's habit, then the way that you have to break habit is you have to practice new patterns. So, let's go through it. So, how'd you go with your clinical knowledge?
I think my clinical knowledge, recognising and even down to my plan, my bang for buck treatment options,
Yeah.
I thought that was good. So I've listed that as an assisted.
Yeah, we gave you assisted in that area.
My policy knowledge, and this is a reflection to setting up that T-piece.
Yep.
To recognising that, and even recognising that I incorrectly labelled my rest rate or ventilation support rate at 15.
Yeah.
I've made that dependent. That's not good enough for this situation.
Agree with you there too. The other thing that we made comment on, like, you know, busy case, your mag setup and your recognition of the, like, you're right, there was a little bit of treatment inertia each time that there was a slight slip or time spent fixing a problem led to a delay with something down the line there. So your ventilation rate, your positioning of the patient, did you review or think anything about your positioning?
It wasn't until I got the real strong prompt at the GCS in one of my reassessments, whether it be the second or the third or the fourth, that we're now at a point that we've got a substantial decline.
Yeah.
I was just trying to optimise that, you know, that ventilation perfusion ratio in that position. So for me, my early thought process is, I'm happy with you where you were. And when I was sort of got that, I think it might have been a prompt word, one of my assessments, the patient's now floppy.
Yeah.
No, it's not good enough, and that's where I'm now sitting there going, I had literally prepared, and I got to a point of pulling my checklist out, and doing my tube checklist.
Yeah.
But I suddenly got some assessments. I think we're actually starting to trend the other way. That adrenaline must be working now, or the mag was working now. So I kind of went, no, let's just close that bag back up again.
So I guess just in terms of the policy stuff, like even though we're dealing with a hypoxic asthmatic patient who's peri-arrest, we're also dealing with someone who is cerebrally hypoperfused with a BP of 70 on 40. And so we've got some competing priorities, but one of the priorities we need to do is maximise any cerebral flow that we can. And if we're pushing blood uphill against compressed blood vessels, then we need to just be considerate of how can we best maximise this. So like I think that's the other area that just pushed that down into the dependent area there. Safety manual tasking PPE infection.
Now that you highlighted the sharps, I've just scaled that straight back to a dependent. Everything else I thought was good. I think, the scene I kept somewhat clean. I had the sharp in, I used it for everything else.
Yeah.
But that habit of capping sharps is not good. I marked that down.
In general, that's an area of practice that you're going to have to look at and improve, because we know that in the heat of battle you're going to get distracted at some stage, and that's a risk of contamination to yourself. But in terms of everything else that you didn't see, like PPE and you managing the patient, we didn't see much of an issue with that at all. So we've graded you above dependent. We've actually said independent, probably with the hindsight of now thinking back to that sharps management, probably dependent to assist.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
History taking?
Yep.
Like, with due respect to the urgency and the severity of the case, I did mark that assisted, but as I was watching that video and really highlighted it, I never got any presenting history from the ACP crew other than they did this.
Yeah.
I've ticked assisted, but I've arrowed it towards dependent. If there was a box in between the two, that's where I put it.
Yeah, we had a similar discussion. We said there was a lot more to get from scene, but in terms of treating your patient with what was given to you upon presentation and arrival, I think you've got enough history to know that you've got a peri-arrest asthma.
Yeah,
and for you to go, hey guys, we just need to crack on. So for that, we've given you assistance.
Physical examination, it took a little while. I think it wasn't until the patient was down, but it was completed. And that goes into even my systematic approach. I've marked that between dependent and assisted on the grounds of I recognised the severity of it, I initiated treatment plans, but then I never really went back and completed those.
True, 100% agree with you. It was completed late, and there were some prompts around the ventilation rate and increased pressure that Nat was fighting against. That could have been an opportunity for you to go, hang on a second, I need to get a more complete physical exam of what the respiratory anatomy and physiology is doing.
Like, initially when you started, mate, you'd pull your stethoscope out and spend 5 minutes listening to a chest, or probably realistically 3-4 minutes listening to a chest on that particular patient. Would go, dude, don't waste your stethoscope time.
Yeah.
Put it away. It's life-threatening asthma. Work it out, label it, start some immediate treatment. So you've done that, but because of the way the position and the poor ventilation that was getting done by the ACP, and the rate, he said a number of times, this is what's happening. The ACP says this, and I guess that's the time for them, maybe you, to make sure that things delegated out and come back out and go, well, what is this chest doing? Physically inspect the chest, have a listen to the chest. Do that. That's the in the stethoscope might come in handy for that particular one,
But in general, like I think, given the fact that you completed it, albeit late, we're getting you assisted. Yeah, you move to an independent in that setting would be, all right, I know that I'm managing concomitantly, I'm giving my ACP some things to do, and while they're doing that, I'm just completing a quick run through of, I'm looking at my patient, what can I see in the face, what can I see in the neck, what can I see in the chest, what can I see in the abdo. We got there, like you said, just a little bit late in the piece. Systematic
approach I marked between dependent and assisted, and that was just a reflection that maybe it wasn't as seen because of the urgency of the case, but I felt that I did my primary, I initiated my treatment, but then I almost felt that the wheels fell off and I got caught in the bag doing other things. So it kind of felt that, I'm not going to say out of control, because I had my plan. I don't think I delegated my plan, and I said what I was going to do, what my goals of treatment were, but it just, I'd task someone, I want you to do an assessment, when realistically I probably should have been doing an assessment and tasking the people to do other things. And that's where I need to find that happy medium between let the ACP do what the ACP can do and do well, but even down to the paediatric one last time, I asked Tristan, have you prepared or prepped a burette before? And just using that as an example, and it was no. So in my first thought in that case, well, I'm not going to ask an ACP to prep spring fuser. But now that I'm saying out that loud here, your ACPs here do use spring fusers for Irukandji.
I do.
Where the Sunshine Code, we don't even stock them.
Yeah.
I guess I didn't think of that association with that, so I didn't think of that. I marked myself down for that one.
Yeah, so like we thought your systems were okay, started well, completed your assessment like you said, you started tasking to achieve things, but then some of your reassessments were late and incomplete. And we were speaking in our room, like was there a recognition or verbalisation to complete a full respiratory status assessment? You don't just say, hey, we're going to pause this, pause what we're doing and take in, but like when you're working through, you need to work through, hey guys, we've got significantly respiratory depressed patient with a ventilation rate of 4, inadequate tidal volume, hypertensive, tachycardic, with SATs of 93%. This is my peri-rest patient. But really assisted within that setting for hours, like not something that grossly affected the outcomes. I think there was some issues with you saying that you felt like you lost control, and then once you lose control, some of your systems start to become affected.
Interpretation of vital signs and investigations. I think early on I recognised the severity of it and labelled it quickly. That's a good interpretation. But then I failed and required prompting on that ventilation rate and the hyperinflation, so I marked myself dependent in there. I wasn't happy in the first instance that I even labelled that ventilation rate to my ACP to NAT.
Yeah.
But then I required the prompting to fix it. So unfortunately, that it didn't completely fall into the realms of set and forget, but it wasn't far off it. And I even wrote ventilation rate set and forget up the top with the policy knowledge. I don't reflect on that.
So we've given you assisted in that range because we think that you identified what you had. The ventilation issue for mine comes into your QAS policy knowledge, your management planning, and your ability to modify management plans based on feedback. But for your interpretation of vital signs, we've marked you as assistant.
Development of working differential, I think I did that well. I've marked myself independent there.
Agreed. Well done.
I guess I have a positive reflection.
Yep.
Management planning implementation, I put that in as assisted, and that was just on the grounds of recognising what I had at hand. I labelled my plan, I implemented it. I got caught up in preparing some of the stuff,
Yep.
but I'd had a road that I was following and I was walking down that road, and I think I verbalised that well.
I agree with your management plan. I think you had a really defined management plan. I think what drew you down into the dependent range was your implementation of it. So it was that second part of that domain. Your management plan was solid. It's just that, and you pointed to it like a treatment inertia, that we didn't get to the points that you wanted to get to within the time frames, which you identified as being the frustrations at the beginning there. Just in terms of the pathway, we wanted aggressive IV adrenaline or IV salbutamol, with the justification about why you're doing that within the 20 minutes, and we didn't get to that. We want ventilation at the appropriate rate with the appropriate volumes. Without that, increased barotrauma with the risk of tension or thorax. I didn't point that in there, but I gave you some prompts along the way to say review your management plan or review how you're implementing your management plan. Your IV magnesium, fine, no problems there. But then the other things like maintaining an upright position for your AOC hypotensive patient, like that's your implementation of your management plan, and that's where you kind of had the information pretty much with you straight away. We've got a GCS 9 patient upon arrival who's got a blood pressure of 70 on 40. For mine, it's this kind of, all right, I want to maximise ventilation, but I'm really worried about cerebral perfusion.
And you're going to BVM anyway, so, you know.
All right, so procedural skill competency.
Dependent.
Okay, how so?
And that was just on the fact that I got frustrated with that TP, for example.
Yeah.
The fact that